Today we examine one of the most dramatic turning points in Danube Swabian history, World War I. The war did more than bring military conflict. It destroyed the empire under which the Danube Swabians had lived for nearly 2 centuries and left them divided among several new nations. For many families, this moment marks the beginning of the political instability that would eventually culminate in the tragedies of World War II. In 1914, the Danube Swabians were not citizens of Germany. Most lived within the vast Austro-Hungarian Empire. Their villages stretched across what are now several modern countries, but at the time they existed within one imperial system. They maintained German language, customs, churches, and schools while living alongside Hungarians, Serbs, Croats, Romanians, Slovaks, and many other peoples. The empire was multi-ethnic and imperfect, but it provided a framework that allowed these diverse populations to coexist. The war began with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. What might have remained a regional conflict quickly spiraled into a world war because of alliances linking Europe's major powers. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia mobilized in support of Serbia. Germany supported Austria-Hungary. France and Britain entered the conflict. Within weeks, Europe was engulfed in war. For Danube Swabian families, the consequences would be enormous. Danube Swabian men were drafted into the Austro-Hungarian military like other citizens of the empire. Many served far from home. Some fought against Serbia in the Balkans. Others were sent east against Russia. Still others fought in the brutal mountain warfare against Italy. Families often preserve photographs of soldiers in imperial uniforms, making military records valuable genealogical sources today. The war affected everyone, not just soldiers. Women, children, and elderly relatives were left to maintain farms and households. As the war dragged on, shortages became severe, inflation increased. Families worried constantly about loved ones serving far away. Many villages lost a generation of young men. The war's effects were felt in every community across the Danube region. By the final years of the war, Austria-Hungary was falling apart. Military losses weakened confidence in the government. Food shortages and inflation created widespread dissatisfaction. At the same time, various ethnic groups increasingly demanded self-determination. The multinational empire that had governed Central Europe for centuries was beginning to fracture. The end came rapidly in late 1918. Austria-Hungary collapsed and ceased to exist. For Danube Swabians, the most important consequence was that their citizenship changed overnight. Many people who had never moved suddenly found themselves living in entirely new nations. Their villages remained where they were, but the borders moved around them. One of the most important developments was the creation of a new state that would later become known as Yugoslavia. Large Danube Swabian populations suddenly became minorities within this new South Slavic kingdom. Communities that had once been governed from Vienna and Budapest were now governed from Belgrade. This marked a major political and cultural transition. Romania emerged from the war significantly enlarged. The eastern portion of the Banat region was incorporated into Romania. As a result, many German-speaking communities found themselves living within Romanian borders. Romania now inherited large minority populations, including Germans, Hungarians, Jews, and others. Managing these diverse populations would become a challenge for the new state. Perhaps no country experienced a more dramatic territorial reduction than Hungary. The Treaty of Trianon redrew borders on a massive scale. Entire communities that had been part of Hungary for generations suddenly found themselves in Romania, Yugoslavia, or Czechoslovakia. Many Danube Swabians experienced this change firsthand. One of the most remarkable aspects of this period is that people often did not move. Instead, borders moved around them. A family could wake up in one country and, after the treaties, find themselves citizens of another. This reality created identity challenges that would persist for decades. Were they Germans, Hungarians, Romanians, Yugoslav citizens? The answer was often all of the above. The post-war period saw nationalism intensify throughout Europe. New governments sought to strengthen their national identities. Minority groups often found themselves under pressure. German schools, churches, newspapers, and cultural organizations became increasingly important because they helped preserve community identity. At the same time, tensions between ethnic groups steadily increased. For genealogists, these border changes create significant challenges. A village that was once in Hungary may now be located in Serbia or Romania. Records may be written in German, Hungarian, Serbian, Romanian, or Latin. Understanding historical border changes is essential for locating the correct archives and records. This is one of the most common obstacles researchers encounter when tracing Danube Swabian ancestry. Although World War I ended in 1918, many of the underlying tensions remained unresolved. The treaties created winners and losers. Minority populations often felt marginalized. Economic challenges persisted. These conditions would contribute to the rise of extremist politics across Europe and set the stage for World War II. For the Danube Swabians, even more difficult years lay ahead. World War I transformed the world of the Danube Swabians. For nearly 200 years, their communities had existed within the Habsburg framework. The collapse of Austro-Hungary ended that era forever. Their story is not only one of migration and settlement, but also of survival amid some of the most dramatic political changes in European history.